Hi everyone, welcome to this Thursday, February 27th edition of the DL Sportscast. And yes, I am hiding my face because again, I need to update this board here because we went 3-0 again last night. So that means we are going to make a $3 donation to the Indy FurCon charity, and that will put us up to a nice little 8 here. So, just as proof, there's 2 there and a third. We're off to a good start for our first week. All right. That was fun last night. I know I got a little bit taken aback by the fact that I didn't have a full set of notes, but I've got some notes with me today. We should have a great afternoon. I'm having a good day so far. I hope you are all too. Hopefully your teams play well tonight. There's a lot of teams playing in very important games tonight. But we got to start talking about last night. Man, there were some hella great finishes last night. So one of the games I picked yesterday was Penn State and Rutgers. I picked Penn State to win at home, and they were up, not big, but they were up, decent at halftime and throughout, and then Penn State came back. As a matter of fact, with a minute to go, Penn State was up down 2 to Rutgers, and just 29 seconds to go, guy makes a deep three, ends up being the game winner there for Penn State. Fantastic finish, but not as amazing as the next 2 games. The one that I did watch for the most part all the way through was Virginia and Virginia Tech, which I thought was going to be a blowout game. Virginia Tech is down this year. They're not very good. They've got a young new coach in place. Think he was the coach at Wofford for a while. I think that's where he was anyway. But Virginia Tech held close. So something else I have to mention about that game, by the way. I made fun of San Diego State quite a bit for only putting up 14 in the first half against Utah State. Virginia Tech only put up 11 in the first half yesterday. The difference is Utah State put up 50 because Utah State can actually score a little bit. Virginia Tech was never really out of it, even though they only scored 11 points in the first half because they were playing the offense of Virginia. I say the offense of Virginia. We all know that it doesn't really exist. Virginia games are so ugly to watch, but again, there was a few years ago where Virginia was a 1 seed and Cincinnati was a 2 seed. We don't talk about what happened in either of those games, but there was a lot of talk about how drag-out ugly it would have been if Cincinnati and Virginia Tech had met in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. That could have been the ugliest basketball game ever played. But we know how Virginia plays offense. They don't. So Virginia Tech came back, almost won the game. They were up, they were up 3 or 4 points with about a minute and a half left, and their lack of an ability to make a free throw kept Virginia in the game, and they made I think theirs was a corner 3 in this case. They made a big 3. No, I think it was straight away, actually. I think both of them were, but Virginia guy was open, smallest of margin. It was actually pretty decent defense on the play, but drains the 3 with 2 seconds left. Doesn't get much better than that, right? It was a tie game, just about a buzzer beater to win it by 3. Doesn't get better than that. Hold my beer. Hold my beer. We're going to the Big Ten. Minnesota and Maryland. Talking about a team that needed to finish a game. Now, I need to start off by bringing something up here that kind of bothers me. And we talk about teams on the bubble and, all the articles about who's on the bubble, who's on bubble watch. Can someone please explain to me how Purdue and Minnesota are teams that are fighting for the postseason right now? What is it? I have it here somewhere. 13-14. That loss last night put Minnesota at 13-14. It's not just that they have a losing record in conference play, it's that they have a losing record overall. And Purdue is, I believe, 14-14 going into tonight's game. And these teams are still being talked about on the bubble? I don't, unless you make a run through your conference tournament, I don't understand why these guys are right there. And maybe I'll take a look at it tonight for tomorrow's show to see if I can figure out anything as to why they're being picked over a USC or a UCLA or or Wichita or Tulsa. Tulsa, I don't know if Tulsa has a big signature win, but I know that they're tied for first in the American with Houston and Cincinnati, and they're not even being talked about. Memphis is being talked about over Tulsa, and I can't quite figure out why. But last night's Minnesota game that really could have saved their season, as far as I'm concerned, they led the entirety of the game. I don't think they were ever up huge, but they led. They had a great first half. They had a great first half of the second half, and then then Maryland just sort of chipped away the way good teams do against bad teams when you're having bad days. Guy made a 3 with 1 second left. I mean, any closer and it would have just been an absolute buzzer beater. You feel bad for Minnesota a little bit. I mean, I make fun of the Big Ten pretty frequently just for funsies, but that was pretty epic, as far as the finish is concerned. And you do feel bad for Minnesota having played so well and coming up just short because a guy makes a beyond NBA range 3. I mean, Patino's got to be. I think Patino's still coaching there, but the Gophers are done. Stick a fork in them. They shouldn't have been in the conversation in the first place. Now, some teams that did need to play well to help their cause did play well. So Richmond won a tight game, probably tighter than it should have been with George Washington, but they got the win that they needed. It doesn't move them up. It doesn't really move them down. So, it's kind of one of those stay-in-place games. The game that I think was a good resume win was Stanford beating Utah. I think that one was a road game as well. So I don't think it's a quad 1. I think it's a quad 2 win. But Stanford gets the key win that they need. I think that's going to... I can't remember if they were in last 4 in or where were they? I don't think it's going to really... I don't know if it's going to move them up. It depends on how other teams play tonight, which I've got some predictions. All college basketball tonight. There just wasn't an NBA game that I really was interested in, so I'm avoiding those tonight. Let's see. Stanford was listed as a first 4 out team. There's a lot of interesting Pac-12 situations that could come out of this. Stanford gets the win. Now, this bracket is still the one that was from Monday, so I don't know what changes have been put in for it yet, but Stanford wins. If UCLA falters tonight, if USC falters tonight, there could be some serious implications there between Stanford and UCLA. I think that there's 3 Pac-12 teams all fighting for the same spot in the tournament. So, we're getting close to championship week too. Congratulations, by the way, to the Vermont Catamounts. I know it's not a big school, but more importantly, it's where I am right now, and it's a team that I follow, and they clinched the number 1 overall seed for winning the America East regular season title last night without having to play, mind you, because Hartford beat Stony Brook in what could be called a pretty big in-conference upset. So good for them. They'll get home court throughout. Unfortunately, it's one of those like super one bid leagues that means that even though they won the regular season, they still have to win the conference tournament for the auto bid. Otherwise, you just get the NIT invite. I think they're going to do it though. Home court throughout is going to be a very, very big deal for them. So let's see. So that's good for them. So tonight we have some very big games tonight. Arizona is going to be at USC. Arizona State is going to be at UCLA. And Wichita State is going to be at Temple. All of these are really, really big games for teams on the bubble. Arizona State is pretty safely in. They've played very well. They've got wins against Colorado and Oregon recently. But this is a tough test tonight on the road at UCLA. Mick Cronin has that team on fire right now. Arizona's going to USC. USC, I believe, is listed as one of the last 4 teams in. So there's a major implications just in those 2 games alone. And then Wichita. Wichita is one of those teams that I mentioned earlier. Now, they're listed as in, I believe. They're listed as one of the last 4 buys currently for the tournament. And I think they need a win just to solidify that position a little more, especially again against a tough. I think is it at home or away? I forgot to check. But very important game there for Wichita against Temple. Is it on the road? No, it's home. It's a home game against Temple, but still, you have 2 losses against Cincinnati. You have 2 losses against Houston. You have a loss against Tulsa, and they lost the first game against Temple. Wait, hold on. Are they really 8-6 in conference? SMU's better in conference than these guys. Tulsa's better in conference. Tulsa's 11-4 with a 19-9 overall, and they're not even being listed as a tournament team. I'll have to look at this later, but doesn't make sense to me. 11-4 in conference, 19-9 overall versus 13-14 and what? 7-10, 6 and whatever in conference in the Big Ten. Give me Tulsa. I'll buy into Tulsa. Wow, I mean that's just. I just for the first time in a long time just noticed that and there is a strong case to be made for some anger there. But yeah, Wichita, tough game against Temple. And these are flip 'em coin games, all 3 of them. I think the biggest team that could benefit from a win tonight would be UCLA. The team that would be hurt most with a loss is probably Wichita. USC, if they win, great. If they lose, I don't. This is one of those situations where there's, again, so many teams just going for one spot. It's hard to really make a prediction. I think if USC loses, it depends on what UCLA does. If UCLA, we'll go into the scenario later when we go into predictions for the night. but there's lots of. The other thing is that there's lots of good Big Ten matchups tonight. You got Michigan and Wisconsin, Indiana and that Purdue team that doesn't deserve to be in the running. Ohio State plays Nebraska. If they don't beat the fuck out of them, I have no clue. And Illinois plays Northwestern. Now, Illinois and Northwestern, kind of a rivalry game. They're both, local to each other, so I can potentially see potential upset there because, again, rivalry games, you can never count out even the weaker teams, and that's something, again, Virginia Tech, Virginia, you just don't count out your crosstown rivals. All right. So as of right now, there is no decision. Moving on. Right now, no decision yet on the new CBA. We did, however, find out who one of the big dissenters was as far as the player reps, and it was Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Now, I like what Rodgers stated. He said he was, his teammates elected him to this position, and he really wanted to represent his team. So he went and talked to all of his players before he went and put his vote in for this new CBA that is now in front of them. And he said, again, I represent this whole team, therefore their input matters to me. Now here's my question. Why can't our politics work like that? I mean, I'm not a big political guy, but can we not? But he made a very interesting quote as to why he said no. And let me pull up this quote really quickly. He said this on Twitter. Now, let me read this, and then we can sort of delve into what this is. I voted no last night. My decision to vote no is based off the conversations I had with the men in my locker room that I'm tasked to represent. Allah, I wish we could get our politicians to do this. Just saying. This deal will affect every player that ever plays the game, and we have made this decision with only an abbreviated version of the deal, and that isn't good enough. Although I do see that there are many things in the proposal that improve the lives and care for past, present, and future NFL players, there are issues with others. 16 games to me was never something to be negotiated. The owners made it clear that the 17th game is about paying for the added benefits and had nothing to do with positive feedback received about any extra risks involved with the added regular season game. Also an extra game for every 2C moving forward on wildcard weekend, i.e. Green Bay Packers in 2019 equals no bye. Let's break this down a little bit. Yes, he voted no. He represents his entire team, and, he seems a little bitter about the fact that they didn't seem to get all the information, which I would be too. I get it 100%. But as I look into this, he does talk about there are many things that improve the lives of NFL players, past, present, and future. That's talking about the increase in the league minimums and possibly has something to do with the lesser practices. He does bring up that it sounds like the players weren't really allowed to give feedback on that 17-game schedule, to which I'm still curious as to how they're going to pick the matchup for Game 17 in these situations. I haven't heard any theories on how they're going to do that, but the added benefits have nothing to do with positive feedback received about any extra risks. So he's bringing up how when we say risks, we're talking about injuries, to the head, neck, back, all that. The funny thing is, though, that he does bring up in the end that extra playoff game or that extra playoff team that they're adding, costing costing a bye for the number 2 seed. Just ironic that this year it just happened to be his team. If it wasn't his team, would he have made the same statement though? Excuse me. But if they're going to do this the way that they're proposing it, I am pretty okay with it actually, because nobody really watches that 4th preseason game where none of the stars play, and I think that having the extra game would be great for everyone from a TV deal perspective, and the other thing that I brought up yesterday that I only heard about today was added roster spots. I remember thinking, hey, maybe they should increase the roster. It does sound like they're going to add at least 5 more roster spots, which I think would make a significant deal. Plus, I think there should also be some more benefits for practice squad players. So if all these are included, I like what I'm kind of seeing here in spite of the... Now, it's not going to be... it's not going to be unanimous. And we're going to have to see where a lot of the common players... I say common players, not mega stars, go with this. You already know that that J.J. Watt isn't a fan. We know now that Aaron Rodgers isn't a big fan. Sherman's probably not a big fan. But here's the other thing. I'm still curious, and I don't think it's come out yet, which player abstained in voting. However, wouldn't be shocked if it was the Bengals player, just because that's kind of how Mike Brown has been with any owners meeting. He always is the one that doesn't seem to put in a vote. It's like he doesn't care. I mean, we've seen how he runs the Bengals, so we already know he doesn't give a shit. But one thing that sort of does give me a little glimmer of hope that this is definitely going to go through. I think it'll still be a close vote, but the NFL Players Association head, DeMaurice Smith, seems confident that this is going to go through. Now, it's a little iffy. I'm not going to take a ton of stock into how he believes this is going to go through, because a lot of people think that he butchered the last CBA negotiations for the players. So, from that aspect, kind of iffy whether or not I actually believe him or not. I think he just wants to get the deal done so that he can keep the most popular game. He wants to get the deal done so we can have the most popular game in America keep on going with no work stoppages. Speaking of popular games, though, who loves soccer? I love soccer. You love soccer. Who loves baseball? Old people like me. Okay. There's this guy named Larry Berg. He's the either the owner or the general manager for the new LAFC team. He made a very, very bold statement that I kind of agree with, actually. He says that the MLS, Major League Soccer, is going to surpass both baseball and hockey in popularity within the next 10 years. And I don't doubt that. Soccer has a big following now in the U.S. It's not just a European and South American game anymore. Whew. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I'm winded. I'm also going on a rant here. The other thing is, though, soccer is doing one hell of a job promoting itself. I mean, the MLS is expanding, and let's be fair, the World Cup draws so many fans, and it's kind of disappointing that we're not going to get to see the U.S. play in this upcoming World Cup, but we should, barring coronavirus shutting down the Olympics, see the U.S. in the Olympics. The women's game is as strong as ever. They just won the Women's World Cup. But what's really impressive is that, again, you might not know all the stars. I mean, I will admit that I can't name tons of MLS stars, but they're doing a much better job promoting their league and their players than than Major League Baseball is right now. Certainly as good, if not better, than the NHL. The NHL, you know Ovechkin, Crosby, Malkin, Connor McDavid, and unless you're like a Bruins fan like I am, I can Tuukka Rask and Patrice Bergeron. I can name a bunch of Bruins players, but with the MLS, and what's also nice about the MLS is that you don't have to have these mega stadiums. You don't have to fill Cowboy Stadium for it to really work. You can. Some of these stadiums don't even have the capacity of baseball stadiums, and fans will flock to these games. And the game experience is just as fun. Now, I haven't been to an MLS game myself. However, I have a lot of friends back home who go to FC Cincinnati games quite a bit. And one of the things that I see through all their social media is tailgating. Tailgating, which is also a big part of football. You can have a just as fantastic and awesome time tailgating before a soccer game. The chants, everything about soccer is just so much fun right now. And one of the things that's really going to help take soccer to a next level here in the United States is that we host a World Cup fairly soon, I think. I can't remember which years, but I think, and it's not just the U.S., Canada and Mexico get to host games too. But tell me this. You look at all the world around the world, they built these crazy soccer stadiums. Just these, and then they don't use them. I think having the World Cup here in the U.S. works because you don't need to spend exorbitant amounts of money to create these soccer stadiums. Can you imagine what it would be like to watch a World Cup final in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium? I think that would be... Now, I don't know what the record is for largest crowd at a World Cup final, but do you think that you could fit enough people into Cowboys Stadium to potentially get that record? Maybe? If you also have, great, you're going to have this new stadium out in LA that's supposed to be fantastic. You're going to have games there. You could play, if you wanted to play like domed games, play them in Toronto. Mexico City's got that lovely stadium that they play NFL games in now. There's just so much room for growth for especially the MLS, and it's really exciting to see how it's growing. But it also helps that it's also helping them if they want to pick up their popularity that the commissioners of both baseball and the NHL are a fucking joke. I mean, Manfred has looked like an absolute fool with all this cheating scandal that has been happening this year, and I've never been a fan of Bettman. I mean, their TV deal stinks right now. I don't want to pay for ESPN Plus to watch hockey. I can watch it on Sportsnet or something else, but the fact that they've let it get away now, college basketball and NBA basketball are going to be king over hockey, but I do kind of miss having games on my ESPN2, at least in the NHL, the way it used to be. But college basketball is, and because it used to be on Wednesdays too, but it's just not the draw anymore, especially here in the United States and Canada, and maybe up here where I am in the Northeast, maybe more than everywhere else. But basketball is taken over there. So when he comes out and says this, I actually take stock in this. I believe him. 100%. I mean, the tailgating experience looks fun. I'm going to be sometime when I'm back in the middle of summer during MLS season. I should take a chance sometime to go see FC Cincinnati. But we need to go back to the NFL real quick. So there's a story out there where Tom Brady has said, yeah, no, it's fine. I'll have no problem being in a new home. I didn't really lead off with this because, let's be fair, I don't really think it's news. It's not really newsworthy. I mean, it kind of is. But this is something we already knew. We already knew he was going to shop around a little bit. So this isn't really shocking to me. What is shocking to me is that we're almost to March and we don't really know where he's leaning. And the combine is this weekend, and we need to know soon what's the plan. Is there a plan in place? Especially before the draft. If there's no plan in place for the draft now, I think they've given him some sort of March deadline, and the draft isn't until April. So there is plenty of time to figure out where we're going to go from there. There's just no idea where the plan is. If he stays, what do you do? If he goes, are you going to draft someone, bring someone in? But it's there's a lot of rumors out there for Brady, and I still think out west is somewhere very likely, Vegas. But I think the best landing spot most likely landing spot for him would be the Chargers. Not based on as much, yes, based on football stuff, but off the field stuff. Can you imagine him being able to promote his TB12 program in the LA market? With all the actors, actresses, musicians, and athletes out there, TB12 would go bananas out there. The other guy that we don't know where he's going to go yet, although we have a pretty good idea, is this young fella from OSU, defensive end. His name is Chase Young. He was already considered to be a can't-miss type of prospect. Now, he came out in his interview at the Combine and said, I am the best player in this draft. I should be the most talked about, the best, the biggest player in this draft. Gotta say, though, yes, it's a little brash, but I don't think he's wrong. I think he is the best overall talent, and a lot of scouts and draft experts are saying this. Like you see Kuiper and McShay's big board, he's at the top of the big board. He's not at the top of the mock drafts, just the big board as the best guy, as the guy with the best draft grade. So I'm not shocked from that aspect. It makes sense to me. But for him to come out and just say, I'm the best prospect, well, yeah. All the experts and the scouts already say so. The only reason he's not is because the Bengals have a bigger need than they do defensive end. He's good, which is why he's falling to 2. He'll be picked up by the Redskins, and he'll hopefully go in and have a great career, not along the lines of the last big hype defensive lineman that the Redskins brought in. We all know that was a disaster. But to come out and say that, well, yes, we understand you have your confidence, but you're just feeding us information we already knew. We look at the tape. I haven't seen the measurables. We'll see what the measurables look like as the weekend progresses. Today, I believe, was wide receivers and tight ends, and there are some names that I'm going to be very interested to see, especially because, and today should have been the must-watch day because a wide receiver is, as far as like skill positions, is so deep this year and it's so good. There's a lot of really good talent that's going to be taken for quarterbacks to throw to this year. Excited, can't wait. All right, we gotta do one little thing here, and it's we always bring up whenever we talk baseball, we talk about the Astros, we talk about the cheating. The one thing that we want is a hit by pitch count, and I have a number going into this morning. As far as I could tell, the number of hit Astros batters so far is 6. And they've only played like 3 games, so they are getting plunked. The Altuve one does not look malicious. I get it. Curveball in the dirt grazes your foot. Fine. Those are typical. However, yesterday I saw the replay of let's see, did I get the pitcher's name? I didn't get the pitcher's name. Damn it. There was a game that was I believe it was the St. Louis Cardinals playing the Astros, where the Cardinals pitcher straight up threw a fastball right at the guy, hit him in the small of the back. Oh, Alex Bregman just took a wallop of a shot there. The question is the commissioner going to let this continue? He has already come out and he has stated that he did not want to see pitchers going after Astros batters like this. So what's he going to do about it? You should do nothing. And I don't want to see any malicious play where pitchers intentionally try to hurt the Astros players. But you can't really just go, no, you get instantly tossed if you hit an Astros batter. Because you do need to be able to pitch inside. And what's going to happen is you're going to see potentially players for the Astros, if they're going to have short, chains to throw pitchers out whenever they hit a batter, you might see Astros batters, crowd the plate. Crowd the plate so that they get hit a little bit, but you're also going to see pitchers just avoid throwing down inside altogether, and that's just going to be, that takes away a big part of the plate. Where am I supposed to throw the ball now? I mean, it's going to either go down the middle or slightly outside, which is going to be a pain for my catcher to have to get. Oh, boy. I mean, this whole situation's such a mess, and Rob Manfred just cannot get his shit together. He looks like such a fool. I like the self-policing in baseball. And again, if it's going to be pitches like the one that Altuve took where it just grazed his foot, I mean, that's one of those accidents that happen all the time. But to come out and say if you hit an Astros batter like that, like what we saw with Bregman, if the pitcher had been yoinked from that pitch on, what is the future of baseball in that aspect? Or if punishments come down for the Red Sox, are we going to have to start worrying about Dustin Pedroia and Xander Bogaerts taking those hits? It's just a mess. I really need the regular season to get here. I mean, spring training's great, it's fun, but at this point, I really just want meaningful baseball to be back so that we can just move on and talk standings and games instead of plunking. And I know I'm sort of beating it myself here by even talking about it, but you just can't not anymore. It's really depressing. What has happened to my beloved baseball? R.I.P. MLB. Alright, let's finish it up with our picks of the night. Our not-so-spicy picks, because it is not the weekend. Tomorrow we will make the spicy picks that put my potential stomach lining on the line. Alright. All college games tonight, as I said. Let's start off in the Big Ten. There were a lot of games to pick from. I could have gone with Ohio State and Nebraska, but I think that one's going to be a dud. Illinois versus Northwestern, I think, is going to be a dud, even though it's a bit of a rivalry game. I did decide to go with Wisconsin and Michigan. Now, Michigan's the home team. Michigan's got a higher ranking. Wisconsin, I haven't watched a lot of. I kind of miss the days of Bo Ryan, though, at Wisconsin, because those were some stout teams to watch. And they just haven't quite had the same magic recently, but I think they're going to play well tonight. It's a big road test. I know they're not necessarily locked in, but a win here would pretty much get them there, I think. So I say they come in ready to play. I'm going to take the Wisconsin Badgers on the road for this one. And then I wouldn't, and you saw this last night, I usually try not to pick two games from the same conference unless there's a bunch of high-profile games. But owing to the fact that these two games matter so much for what could happen a few weeks on Selection Sunday, I decided I'm going to make picks here. So, Pac-12, USC, and Arizona. Arizona is the higher seed. I know it's a road game, and USC desperately needs this win to stay on the right side of the bubble. But I am going to pick Arizona in this one. Now, the other one is Arizona State and UCLA. Now, I watched a lot of Mick Cronin basketball. I know how his teams play. Really tough defense. Not a lot of offense. But I think they're going to score enough tonight to get the win against Arizona State. Arizona State, a loss here, especially because it's a road game, doesn't really hurt them. I think UCLA benefits quite a bit with a win here. And if my predictions hold true, I think USC falls out of the last four in, or wherever they are, and either UCLA or Stanford will replace them. I'm going to say UCLA would replace USC in this situation over Stanford because I think the win against Arizona State is a higher quality win than what Stanford had against Utah. Even though I think the Stanford game was a road game, but Arizona State more quality opponent. I think that's where the difference is going to be there. So we have for our picks tonight, we're going to go with Wisconsin, Arizona, UCLA. I'm on a 6-game streak. Let's see if it continues to roll on. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I hope you all had a great day. I hope you all have a good night. I hope your teams play well tonight. And I will see you all tomorrow.